Hello and welcome to Soulful Saturdays with Sailor. Around here, we cut through the noise, ditch the fluff, and dive straight into what matters: spiritual wellness, radical self acceptance, and unapologetic soulful living. Each week, I'll bring you truth with a side of sass, reflections that wake you up, and reminders that you are glorious. So, whether you've got your journal, your coffee, or that wild, messy bun, you are exactly where you need to be. So, hey, my beautiful souls, can we just tell the truth for a second? Like real talk, no filters, no fluff. Somewhere along the way, you were taught that it was not hard, it doesn't count, that if you're not pushing, proving, overthinking, overgiving, overdoing, then somehow you're not doing life right. Right? That ease. Oh, no, no, no. That must mean you're missing something. That must mean you didn't earn it yet. Yeah. We're breaking up that lie today. And not a let's still be friends breakup either. I mean a full on block the number, cleanse the energy kind of breakup. Because let me ask you something. Who told you that exhaustion equals worthiness? Who sat you down and said, listen, if we're not tired, overwhelmed, or slightly resentful, you're doing it all wrong? Because I don't know about you, but I don't remember signing that contract. And who convinced you that struggle is the price of success? That the harder it feels, the more valuable it must be. Because let me lovingly say this. Some of you are out there making things 10 times harder than they need to be, and then wearing that struggle like a badge of honor. Oh, here it is. Like, oh, I am so busy. Or I just have so much on my plate. Or how about this one? It's been so hard. And underneath that is a quiet belief that says, if it's not hard, it doesn't matter. Hmm. And you know what? I said it. And then here's my favorite part. Why, oh, why do we get a little suspicious when things feel easy? Like, really think about it. Something flows, a decision feels clear, a relationship feels calm, and an opportunity just lands in your lap. And instead of saying, thank you, life, I'll take it, we do something like this. Wait a minute. Hold up. This is going too smoothly. What's about to go wrong? Hmm. You know exactly what I'm talking about. We start side eyeing our blessings like they're up to something. We start overthinking the little thing that felt natural 5 minutes ago. We question it. We poke at it. We try to find the problem that isn't even there yet. Why? Because ease feels unfamiliar. And anything unfamiliar, our mind wants to label as unsafe. But let me tell you something, heart to heart, just because it's unfamiliar doesn't mean it's wrong. It might just mean it's finally aligned. Hmm. I know that feeling, and we're about to shift it together. We've been conditioned, my beautiful souls, and not just a little bit. I'm talking deep, layered, passed down. This is just how life works, kind of conditioning. Conditioned to equate struggle with success, to believe that if we didn't earn it the hard way, it doesn't count. Like somehow ease didn't make the cut. Like flow didn't even get invited to the party. So what do? Well, we get creative. We complicate simple decisions, and you never notice that. Something is a clear yes, and suddenly we've got a commitment meeting. It's, forgive me. Something is clear, and suddenly we've got a committee meeting in our heads. Well, maybe I should think about it. Maybe I need more information. Maybe I should ask 5 other people what they think. And you already knew, but because it came easy and you didn't trust it, so now we're over here turning a two-step decision into a 12-step program. And then we second guess what we already know. That inner voice, that little nudge, that quiet, calm, steady, this way feeling. Yeah, we override her all the time. Not because she's unclear, but because she's too clear. And clarity without struggle feels suspicious. So we go looking for problems. We go looking for reasons. We go looking for proof that it's okay to trust ourselves. And in the process, we disconnect from the very thing that's trying to guide us. And let's talk about this one because this one hits. We feel guilty when things actually go well. Oh, yes, we do. Things are flowing. You're feeling good. Opportunities are lining up. And here comes that little voice. This is too easy. Don't get used to it. Something's going to happen. This can't last long. Why? Because we've been taught to normalize struggle and question peace. Let that sit in. Mhm. We've made chaos familiar and ease uncomfortable. And don't even get me started on how we distrust ease. Oh, you mean it felt natural? You didn't have to chase it? You didn't have to prove your worth first? You didn't have to exhaust yourself, overextend yourself, or explain yourself into the ground. Oh, no, that can't be right. So what do? We slow it down, we mess it up, we add steps that we were never required because somewhere deep down, we're still trying to earn what was feeling aligned. Mhm. We're, we're calling that out today. Listen, that's not your intuition talking. That's old programming. That's the voice of you. You have to work harder. You have to prove more. You have to do more before you receive more. That's the voice. That's the noise. And beautiful soul, that noise, it's been loud for a long time. And here's the truth that I need you to hear. Just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's true. And just because it's loud doesn't mean it's leading you in the right direction. Because underneath all that noise, there's your compass and also your whispers. They're steady, calm, clear. They're not frenetic. They're not pushy. They're not trying to convince you, they are guiding you. And beautiful soul, this year, we're coming back to our compasses, not the world's expectations, not other people's opinions, not the old stories that told you who you had to be. We're coming back to you. We're coming back to us, to that quiet knowing that says, you already know. Let's remember how to listen. And it's those whispers you want to listen to. Ease is not weakness. And let me say that again for the women in the back and the ones in the front still clutching their to-do list like it's a survival kit. Ease is not weakness. Ease is alignment in motion. It's what happens when your choices finally match your truth. When you stop negotiating with yourself, when your yes actually means yes, and your no, your no finally stands on business without a 3-page apology, a follow-up text, and a guilt-spinning action. Because let's be honest, some of you aren't tired because life is hard. You're tired because you keep saying yes when your spirit is screaming no. Hmm. Oh, yeah. Yes, we're definitely going to go there. Ease isn't about doing nothing. It's not about avoiding responsibility or floating through life pretending everything is fine. No, no. Ease is about right effort. It's about doing what's yours to do without dragging 10 extra things along with it just to feel worthy, just to feel accepted. It's about showing up fully, but not abandoning yourself in the process. What flows easily isn't less valuable. It's more honest. It's more aligned. It's more you. But here's where it gets real. That you can't feel uncomfortable at first because you've been trained. Yes, you have been trained to earn your place, to prove your worth, to explain yourself into exhaustion, to justify your decisions so nobody questions you. And let's be honest, so you don't question you. Let's be honest. You don't want to do it because you don't want to question yourself. We have been taught that your value lives in how much you do, how much you give, how much you carry. So when something shows up that doesn't require all that, you don't trust it. You think, this can't be enough. I must be missing something. Or you might be thinking, let me just add a little struggle to this real quick so it feels legitimate. And girl, no, you don't need to make it harder to make it real. Okay, let me say that again. You don't need to make it harder to make it count. And I know there's a part of you that feels safer in the struggle because at least there you know the rules. Push harder, do more, be more, earn more. And ease asks you to trust. Ease asks you to listen. Ease asks you to receive. And for a lot of us, that's the real stretch. Because receiving without proving, choosing without explaining, walking away without guilt, oh, that will have you feeling all kinds of exposed. But let me lean in And I hope you will lean in with me and say this. And I want you to hear this. Like I am saying it to my closest friend, you are allowed to trust what feels right, even if it doesn't feel hard. You are allowed to choose what aligns, even if other people don't understand it. You are allowed to let things be simple, even if you're used to complicated. And you are absolutely allowed to stop overworking your worth because your worth, it was never on trial. It never needed defending. It never needed proof. I want that to settle in for a minute. Now, here's the question I want you to ask yourself. What if you didn't have to push so hard anymore? What if the thing that you've been chasing is actually waiting for you to slow down enough to receive it? What if clarity isn't found in doing more, but it's doing less of what isn't aligned? What if your life isn't meant to be forced, but followed? Followed by listening to that quiet nudge, followed by honoring what feels true, followed by choosing yourself even when it's unfamiliar. Because your compass, she's not loud. She's not frantic. She's not trying to convince you. She's steady. She's grounded. She's clear. And she's been speaking to you this whole time. Not in the chaos, but underneath it. Not in the pressure, but in the pause. So maybe, just maybe, the shift isn't about doing more, fixing more, becoming more. Maybe the shift is allowing it to be easier, allowing it to be clearer, allowing it to be enough as it is, and allowing yourself to trust that what flows to you naturally was never meant to be fought in the first place. Let's bring this into a real life moment because this isn't just a cute concept. This is showing up in your everyday moments. And you know those moments when someone asks you something of you, your time, your energy, your presence, and your body goes, no, not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet, clear, nope. But then your mouth, oh, your mouth says, sure, no problem. And your soul is sitting there like, we had a meeting about this. Yeah, that right there, that's approval over alignment. That's the moment you choose being liked over being honest. That's the moment you abandon yourself just to keep things smooth on the outside. And listen, no judgment. We've all done it, me included. Some of us have built entire personalities around it. Being the reliable one, the helpful one, the one who's always says yes. And underneath that is exhaustion, is quiet resentment, is the feeling of, why does it feel like I'm the only one showing up like this? Because you're overgiving, my darling. Not from overflow, but from obligation. So let's shift the scene for a moment. Same moment, same ask, And this time, you pause. And I mean a real pause, not a fake hold on while I panic internally pause. You breathe, you check in. And instead of reacting, you respond and you say something like, you know what? I can't commit to that right now. Or that doesn't work for me. Or even, so let me get back to you. Oh, I know. The last one, that's a game changer right there because it buys you space to actually listen to yourself before you answer. Now, here's the key: no drama, no over explaining, no, I'm so sorry. I wish I could. Maybe next time, please. Still love me speech. No, truth, just truth. It's clean, simple, and honest. That's how I call a soft boundary. And let me tell you something powerful. Soft boundaries, they change everything because you're not coming in hot. You're not defensive. You're not shutting people down. You're still kind. You're still loving. You're still connected. But you're no longer abandoning yourself to keep the peace. Mm. You're no longer saying yes just to avoid discomfort. You're no longer managing other people's feelings at the expense of your own. You're no longer shrinking so everyone else can stay comfortable. And let me talk about what usually comes up right here: fear. It's a four-letter word. What if they get upset? What if they think I'm selfish? What if this changes the relationship? Okay, let's go there. What if it does? Because here's the truth: nobody says out loud enough. Any relationship that requires you to betray yourself just to maintain it is already out of alignment. Yes, let that sit there for a second. Because real connection can hold your truth. It might take a moment, it might feel different at first, but it doesn't require you to disappear. And here's the magical part: when you start choosing alignment over approval, your relationships don't fall apart. I know that's fear, but that's not the truth. They get clearer, they get more honest, they're cleaner because now there's no guessing. There's no silent resentment building in the background. There's no unspoken expectations piling up. There's just truth. And truth, it creates space. Space for real connection, space for mutual respect, space for people to actually show up with you, not just take from you. And yes, some people might be surprised because they're used to the version of you that always says yes. The version of you that overextended, overgave, overcompensated. But the new version, she's still loving. And she's also aligned. She's not giving from depletion anymore. She's giving from choice. And that feels different. It's stronger, it's cleaner, it's grounded, it's honest. And let me say this because I love you. The right people in your life, they will adjust, they will respect it, and they will even admire it, even if they don't say it out loud, because you're teaching them how to treat you without saying a word. Now, will everyone like it? Nope. But we're not in the business of being liked at the expense of being aligned anymore. We're just not doing that. Because when you stay in approval mode, you lose yourself. And when you choose alignment, you find yourself. You'll find yourself again and again in the small moments. And here's the part that really gets me. When you start living this way, you don't just change your relationships with others, you change the relationship you have with yourself. You start trusting yourself more. You start listening to yourself more. You start honoring yourself in real time. No more, I knew I shouldn't have said yes to that later on. No more replaying conversations wishing you had spoken up. No more carrying things that you were never yours to carry. Instead, you feel clear. You feel steady. You feel at peace with your choices. And that, my friend, my beautiful soul, that is freedom. So the next time that moment comes up, and it will come up, when your body whispers, no, pause, listen, and have the courage to let your mouth match your truth. Because you don't need to be louder. You just need to be honest. Mm-hmm. That's a word right there. Honest. And when you start living this way, not perfectly, not all at once, but moment by moment, choice by choice, something beautiful happens. And I don't mean loud fireworks, look at me kind of beautiful. Mm-mm. I mean quiet, grounded, deep in your spirit kind of beautiful. Your relationships, they start to feel lighter, like you can actually breathe inside them. No more mental gymnastics trying to figure out what you should say or how you should show up. Because you're not performing anymore, you're participating. You're not showing up as who you think you need to be. You're showing up as you. And let me tell you what else starts to shift. That quiet resentment that you've been carrying, the one you don't always say out loud, the one that sounds like, why am I always the one doing this? Or it sounds like, why do I feel so drained after being around them? Or it could sound like, why does it feel like too much? But I keep saying yes anyway. That resentment, it starts to dissolve. Not because other people suddenly changed overnight, because you do. You stop overcommitting. You stop overgiving. You stop saying yes when your whole body is whispering no. And there's the truth most people don't realize. Resentment isn't just about what others are doing. It's about where you've been saying yes when you meant no. So when you shift, when you start honoring your truth in real time, there's nothing to resent because you're no longer betraying yourself in those small, silent ways. And let's talk about that one for a second because it's not always the big dramatic moments that disconnect you from yourself. It's the little ones. The sure, I'll do it when you don't want to. It's the it's fine when it's really not. And the I don't mind when, oh, you do mind. Those tiny moments add up. They chip away at your trust in yourself. They send a message over and over again. My truth doesn't matter as much as keeping things smooth. But when you start choosing differently, even in the small ways, everything begins to recalibrate. And your compass, hmm, she wakes up. She gets stronger, not louder in a chaotic way. She's clearer in a grounded way, steadier. You're not being pulled in 10 different directions anymore. You're not easily swayed by other people's opinions, moods, or expectations. You're rooted, clearer. Decisions don't take as long. You don't need as much outside validation. You're not constantly checking, is this okay? Is this right? Ooh, what do you think? No, because you're already checked in with the only place that matters, you. And let me tell you what that feels like. It feels like peace. Not the kind that comes from everything being perfect, but the kind that comes from being in alignment with yourself. It feels like confidence, but not the loud, prove it kind. It's the quiet kind, the kind that says, I trust myself to choose. I trust myself to handle what comes. I trust myself to adjust if needed. And that kind of trust, that changes everything. Because now you're not living reactively, you're living intentionally. You're not chasing approval, you're anchored in alignment. And the best part, you don't have to overthink every step anymore because you're actually listening to your body, to your intuition, to that calm, steady knowing that's been there all along, just waiting for you to tune back in. So, yeah, when you start living this way, life doesn't get heavier, it gets lighter. Not because you're doing less of what matters, but because you're finally letting go of what never did. And that, my beautiful soul, that's where the freedom lives. And when you start living this way, not just talking about it, not just nodding your head like, that sounds good, but actually living it in the moment, the everyday choices, something beautiful happens. Once again, it's not loud. It's not performative. It's not something you have to prove to anybody else. It's something you feel. Your relationship, they start to feel lighter. Like you finally exhale instead of constantly managing, fixing, anticipating. No more undercurrents of, I hope this is okay. No more silent scorekeeping. No more overanalyzing every interaction afterwards. It's more real because you're not showing up filtered and edited anymore. You're showing up honest. And honesty, it creates a different kind of connection, a deeper one, a safer one, a more sustainable one. And that quiet resentment you've been carrying, yeah, that low hum in the background, the one that shows up as irritation or exhaustion, or that little edge in your voice that you didn't have, that you mean to have, it starts to dissolve. Not because everyone suddenly got their act together, but because you did. Because you stopped agreeing to the things that don't align. Because you stopped overextending just to be seen as good. Because you stopped saying yes when you meant no. And that right there, that changes everything. Because you're no longer betraying yourself in those small, silent ways. You're no longer leaving little pieces of yourself behind in every conversation, every commitment, every sure that wasn't true. You're keeping yourself intact. Mm, feel that. You're whole in your choices now. And your compass, she comes alive. She gets stronger. Not pushy, not loud, not chaotic, steady. Like you just know. You don't need a panel of opinions. You don't need to crowdsource your decisions. You don't need to rehearse your truth before you speak it. You feel it and you trust it. The fog lifts. The overthinking quiets down. The back and forth in your mind, it softens. Because now you're actually listening, not to the noise, not to the pressure, not to the what will they think, but to you, to that calm, grounded, unwavering voice. Instead, that's been there all along, just waiting for you to choose her and let her tell you something heart to heart. That kind of living, that kind of alignment, it doesn't just change your relationships, it changes your entire experience of life. You feel more at peace, more anchored, more yourself. And from that place, you don't just move differently, you live differently with intention, with clarity, with a whole lot less weight on your shoulders. So, as we close this out, I want you to really take this with you. You don't have to force your life to work. You don't have to prove your worth through exhaustion. You don't have to keep choosing approval over alignment. You get to trust yourself. You get to honor what feels true. You get to let it be easier. And your compass, oh, she is ready. She's always been ready. Now it's just about you listening and letting that be enough. There's a lot to be said about listening to those whispers. So here's what I want you to do this week. And I mean, really do this, not just a nod along and then go right back into autopilot. Before you respond, before you commit, before you say yes out of habit, pause. Just pause. Not the rushed, okay, hurry up and answer kind of pause. I mean a real one. Take a breath, feel your body, check in with you before you check in with the world, because that space right there, that's where your power lives. And in that pause, I want you to gently ask yourself, is this coming from alignment or approval? Not what sounds good, not what keeps things smooth, not what avoids comfort, but what's true. And listen, your answer might be quiet. It might not come with fireworks or a big dramatic feeling. It might just be a simple knowing, a calm yes, a steady no. Trust that because your compass, she doesn't yell, she whispers. And here's where it gets real. Be brave enough to let your compass answer. Not your fear, not your habit, not the version of you that's been trained to keep everyone else comfortable, but the version of you that's learning to stay aligned. And when it's unfamiliar, even when it feels a little uncomfortable, even when you're tempted to go back to the old way, because every time you choose alignment, you build trust with yourself. And every time you override it, you will feel, you'll feel it. So this week, we're doing something different. We're slowing it down. We're tuning in. You're choosing on purpose. And I'm going to leave you with this and let it sit with you. Let it follow you through the week. You don't need to force what is meant for you. What's aligned will ask you for your truth, not your exhaustion. Feel that. So go ahead, pause, ask, listen, and then, beautiful soul, have the courage to honor the answer because that's how we come back to our compass. And that's how you start living a life that actually feels like yours. And that, my beautiful soul, is your episode on Allow, Let It Be Easy. Yes, really. Thanks for tuning in, beautiful soul. Take this week to listen to the whispers and remember your soul knows the way. And as you move through your week, carry this truth in your heart. You are worthy, you are radiant, and your presence matters. And never forget, stay soulful, stay sassy, stay you. I'll see you next Saturday, beautiful soul. Same time, same vibe, same glorious energy.